everybody and welcome back to another video by Funlearn Tutorials. So in the last video, we essentially discussed about how to download data from Databank, and we are using World Development Indicators. We chose one database and we chose one country, which was India. So you can see I chose India from here. We chose 6 variables. So if you select the series, you can see which 6 variables I chose. I'll connect the video for this part in the description box below, and I'll probably put some cards up over here as well, so you can go check that out. I also selected 8 years. So if I select the time, you can see I chose from 2022 to 2015, and that gives me this preview. So what I did was I went to the download options and I clicked on the Excel, and that downloaded my file into my downloads folder, and you can see this is the file that I'm looking for. So if I open the P data extract from World Development Indicators, what it does is it opens this Excel file. So I'm going to enable editing because there might be some things that I want to do. Let's open this in total. So as you can see, this is what I get, right? So let me just format this size a little bit. There. Now, why I did that was, you can see there are two tabs here. So one is the data, which essentially shows you the basic data, and then you have another tab which tells you the series. So the difference is here, of course, since it's data, it gives you the data. We chose very few variables and very few time here, so you have just a small data set here, and the series essentially tells you details about the series that you chose. So as you remember, we chose 8 or 6 series, I don't remember. Let's see, we chose 6 series. So they give you information on the 6 series here. So the code for the variable, the license type, then you have the indicator name, which is essentially the name of the variable that you chose. And then they give you a short definition here. So the Gini index, a short definition is given here. The Gini index measures the extent to which the distribution of income or consumption among individuals or households within an economy deviates from a perfectly equal distribution. A Gini index of 0 represents perfect equality, while an index of 100 implies perfect inequality. So they are standardizing the Gini measurement from 0 to 100. Sometimes they also measure it from 0 to 1, which is why this definition becomes very important in order to understand what is the relevance of your particular variable. Then you have the long definition, which is a little bit, again, longer than the short definition. I would suggest if it's the first few times that you run this exercise and you use data from the Databank World Bank series, you read through these definitions and see what you want and see what you don't want, because a lot of the times it might happen that you think a variable tells you something, but it tells you something else. So this gives you the long definitions, distribution of income, or in some cases consumption expenditure. As you can see, when you read this, you realize in some cases the Gini might actually report the consumption expenditure as opposed to the income, because consumption expenditure is a very popular proxy for income in some situations. So you have the long definitions, and then you have the source. So source is basically the World Bank might actually compile data from other sources as well. So it tells you where it's compiling from. So it's the World Bank Poverty and Inequality Platform. That is where they got the Gini index from. So data are based on primary household data survey obtained from the government statistical agencies of World Bank and World Bank country departments. Data for high income economies are mostly from the Luxembourg income study database. So my one is in India, so I think this does not pertain to my data set. Then you have topic. This is basically where you chose the variables. There were separate things that you chose from. So let me just go back and show you. Series. Remember when I chose this, and there were these couple of things, not couple, quite a few things that I chose from. This might be what they were referring to. So I'm going to open the Excel file again. Then you have unit of measurement. So the Gini coefficient is measured in percentage. And why is it not working? Let me just, yeah. So yeah, there are quite a few informations here. unit of measurement, then you have periodicity. So annual data set is what I want. So basically it gives you one figure per year. So since I chose 8, I don't remember, 8 years, I think it's giving me one value for every year. Yeah, had it been monthly or biannual or something like that, I would have had more data. But as you saw, essentially I chose years from here, right? So let me just close this. And if since I chose years from here and not which month or which week or all those, since it is just time, there's a high chance that I'll end up with annual data. Then you have aggregation method. It's blank because it doesn't apply. You have the statistical concept and methodology. It's the area between the Lorentz curve. So that's the definition. Again, it corresponds to the definition of the particular variable. I suggest you go through all this before you start with your work. You have development relevance, limitations and exceptions. You can go through these to make sure that the data is applicable for your work. Then you have general comments, notes from original source, and so many things. We have a license URL as well, which are not very pertinent to our study. Basically, what we usually want is not code. We usually don't want a code. Sometimes I at least don't want a code. I need indicators. I use short definition, long definition. I'm just going to highlight the things that I usually want. So I use indicator. I go through the short definition and long definition. And I sometimes use source. So when I'm in the bibliography or the acknowledgement or the reference section, I sometimes write that. Unit of measurement is something that I might need. Coincidentally, I don't have much unit of measurement, but I do sometimes need it. I also need periodicity. These are actually not things that I need, but rather things that I go through and make sure that I am happy with what I have. So I go through the aggregation method, statistical concepts, development relevance, limitations and expectations, general comments, yeah, and maybe notes from the original source, and maybe related source links or something. I just go through them and see if I need them or not. It's not a hard and fast rule. You just need to go through them and see if you need them. So that is the series of the metadata. And then you have the actual data itself. What I like to do is I like to open everything up so that I can see what's going on. This column is actually this column. They use the code as well. They have the country name. The reason why they are mentioning country name is there were choices for other countries as well. So if you were to choose different countries, they would give you all the data in one single format. I'll show you that as well. So they mention the data as well, and they mention the country code, which is India. They mention the 6 series that you have chosen and the series code. And then pertaining to every year that you have chosen, I had chosen 2015 to 2022. So they have given the values for whichever year exists. Now, as you can see here, there are a lot of blank values over here. So what I can see is if I look at this particular row, a lot of the data are actually blank, which means I have very less data for maternal mortality ratio. And again, I have very less data for prevalence of moderate or severe food insecurity in the population. So what I like to do is, okay, just a quick reminder, this is the data from database World Development Indicators, and this is something very important. I like to keep note of it, because a lot of the times what happens is when you're accessing data from a particular portal, the data might be revised or corrected after some time, and that will essentially affect your analysis. So what I like to do is when I extract data from a particular portal or a website, I tend to note this down, and when I'm presenting my analysis, I would like to mention this. So that essentially gives me an excuse that if somebody comes up and says, hey, your analysis is outdated because the data was corrected, I can say my data was accessed from this data, and that is from where my analysis follows. So you can just use that. It's not an excuse, but it's something that I like to do. So what I like to do is, after I have sort of looked into everything, I close this data set, and I essentially do something which is formatting data. So that's what I'm going to show you.